You said I was in my Marxist phase.
Thank you, Senator.
Still in your Marxist phase, or was that in the past?
No, Senator, if I may explain.
Sure.
I was a political science major. When I graduated from college, I immersed myself in a ton of political theory. I read Hobbes, I read Locke, I read Rousseau, I read Marx. I went through a phase where I was into Eastern religion, where I read the Tao Te Ching, the Analects of Confucius. So I suspect, and I don't know that quote with the article, I don't know if she was referring to what I was studying at the time, but as a political science major and as a theorist and someone who was considering teaching a course in political theory, I immersed myself in those things.
But she didn't refer to anything. She meaning, I assume you're referring to the reporter who interviewed. These are your words, and you didn't say I'm in my Hobbes phase. You didn't say, second, I'm in my Locke phase. You didn't say I'm in my Rousseau phase. You said I was in my Marxist phase, and my question is real simple. Are you still a Marxist?
Senator, I've never been a Marxist, and I'm not a Marxist.
In a charged exchange during the confirmation hearing of Melissa R. DuBose, nominee for United States District Judge for the District of Rhode Island, Senator John Kennedy dives into her past political affiliations. Kennedy confronts DuBose with an interview from 2000, in which she mentioned being in her Marxist phase while working at a coffee shop. DuBose clarifies that her comment was made in the context of her academic pursuits, where she extensively studied various political theories, including Marxism, as a political science major. Despite Kennedy's persistence, DuBose asserts that she has never been a Marxist and emphasizes her commitment to impartiality in her judicial role.
Are you still a Marxist?
Thank you for the question, Senator.
You don't have to thank me. We'll say you are welcome.
I am not, nor have ever been a Marxist.
Well, you gave an interview in 2000 to the feminist press. In fact, you didn't turn it over to us. We had to ask for it. We found it on our own. And you did then turn it over to us. And this is what you were describing your time working in a coffee shop. You said, quote, the kids would come into the cafe all the time. We'd talk about what they're doing. We'd talk about their classes. And I was in my Marxist phase. So you used to be a Marxist, but you're not now?
No, Senator, if I may, the context of that interview, I had no idea that interview was something that was going to be published. I did an interview with it under...
Did you mean what you said, whether it was published or not, or whether we'd find it? Trying to understand what you believe. You said I was in my Marxist phase.
Thank you, Senator.
Still in your Marxist phase, or was that in the past?
No, Senator, if I may explain.
Sure.
I was a political science major. When I graduated from college, I immersed myself in a ton of political theory. I read Hobbes, I read Locke, I read Rousseau, I read Marx. I went through a phase where I was into Eastern religion, where I read the Tao Te Ching, the Analects of Confucius. So I suspect, and I don't know that quote with the article, I don't know if she was referring to what I was studying at the time, but as a political science major and as a theorist and someone who was considering teaching a course in political theory, I immersed myself in those things.
But she didn't refer to anything. She meaning, I assume you're referring to the reporter who interviewed. These are your words, and you didn't say I'm in my Hobbes phase. You didn't say, second, I'm in my Locke phase. You didn't say I'm in my Rousseau phase. You said I was in my Marxist phase. And my question is real simple. Are you still a Marxist?
Senator, I've never been a Marxist, and I'm not a Marxist.
Kennedy delves into DuBose's legal experience, asking if she's led as lead counsel in a federal bench trial or a federal jury trial. DuBose responds with her diverse legal background, but acknowledges her lack of federal trial involvement. Kennedy continues his inquiry, asking if DuBose has ever attended a federal jury trial, to which she responds in the negative. When questioned about watching trials on television, DuBose highlights her extensive experience presiding over state trials. Despite her confidence in handling state trials, Kennedy persists, questioning DuBose's familiarity with federal procedures. DuBose admits her limited exposure to federal court, but emphasizes her ability to apply legal principles. But Kennedy is not convinced.
Served as lead counsel in a federal bench trial?
No, Senator. With my experience as both a state prosecutor, as an in-house counsel at Schneider Electric, doing very complex compliance and regulatory work, and my work as a district court sitting judge, handling general
Yes,
jurisdiction.
ma'am. I've read your resume. I just want to get through these questions. Have you ever served as lead counsel in a federal jury trial?
No, Senator, I have not.
Okay. Have you ever attended a federal jury trial? And
No,
watched
Senator.
it live?
No. No, Senator.
Have you ever watched a federal jury trial on TV?
I don't believe that federal trials are televised, so no, I have not, Senator.
Have you ever watched any trial on television?
Senator, I handle and preside over trials every single day as a state district court judge. We follow the rules of evidence, criminal procedure, civil procedure. So I feel that with my experience, that I am well suited and capable to make the transition from our state district court to our U.S. district court.
Okay. When you were practicing law, did you ever draft a motion or a brief applying the federal rules of evidence?
No, Senator. As a state prosecutor,
Sorry, you said what?
I said no, Senator.
No, okay. When you were practicing law, did you ever draft a motion or a brief applying the federal rules of civil procedure?
Well, I believe that there were times at Schneider Electric giving advice to business units regarding the federal acquisition regulations that I would draft briefs to give them counsel as to how to be compliant with the federal rules. So in that respect, the answer would be yes.
Okay. What's an interpleader action?
Interpleader action is a third party who's going to intervene in a civil suit. They're not a primary party.
Okay. What's voir dire?
Voir dire is the process with which jurors are questioned by the state and by defense and prosecutors to serve on a
Have you
panel.
ever conducted a voir dire in federal court?
Not in federal court.
Okay. I'm going to yield back.
As the questioning continues, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse seeks clarification from Melissa DuBose regarding an interview referenced earlier by Senator Kennedy. DuBose clarifies that it was an undergraduate student's project, not an interview intended for publication. Kennedy emphasizes he has never been a Marxist, questioning why the interview wasn't provided to the committee, suggesting DuBose's testimony conflicts with the reported interview. Senator Graham redirects the discussion, acknowledging a Louisiana Democrat is unlikely to be a Marxist, but queries why the document wasn't disclosed. DuBose explains she was unaware of the article's existence until recently and had not seen it before, explaining why it was not submitted. Graham acknowledges her explanation and moves on to other questions, concluding this part of the inquiry.
DuBose, do you recall when that interview was done, the interview that Senator Kennedy referred to?
No, Senator, I don't. And if I recall, and I was brought to my attention yesterday, that was never an interview that I did I thought was going to be published. I never reviewed it. I didn't. It was an undergrad student who was interested in teaching, who spent 20
What
minutes.
were you doing at the time?
I was teaching.
So this was before you even went to law school. This was
Yeah, I was really early.
many years ago.
It was, Senator.
Perhaps during the time when my colleague Senator Kennedy was a Democrat. Showing that people can change their views, even if it were true that you were then in a Marxist phase.
Senator Graham?
Mr. Chairman, my name was invoked.
I noticed.
As a proud Democrat, we were like
My
that part
name
of your
was
history.
invoked, Mr. Chairman. Now, I just want to let the record reflect, and I love Senator Whitehouse.
Uh-oh.
But I'll tell you one thing, I've never been a Marxist. I've never been a Marxist. And I've never admitted I was a Marxist and then not turned the document over to this committee. We had to find it. And we did. And now your testimony, the testimony under oath today is, I didn't say that. The reporter said that. No, the witness said that. And then the testimony is, well, I didn't mean it to become public. That's not the issue. So, if we won't get personal here, we can.
Senator Graham?
Thank you. Let's agree on the following. A Louisiana Democrat's probably not a Marxist. But the bottom line is, why wasn't it available to the committee, Mr. DuBose?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I had no idea that the article existed. When I did the interview with that undergrad student, it was for a paper for a class.
It's something you didn't know about.
I was in an interview with a young lady who was interested in teaching as an undergrad, and I was just sharing my transition, how I went to be into teaching.
I understand. Your testimony is, this is not something I've seen before. Had you seen it before?
No, Senator.
Okay, so if you hadn't seen it, you didn't know about it, so that's why you didn't turn it over.
That's correct.
Okay, just make